Back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And the New Jersey Devils have fallen to 0-2 on this young preseason, losing tonight in Montreal by a score of 2-0 to the Montreal Canadiens. And the first thing I have to say about all of this is that I don't like the way the lineups are being handled, if I'm being perfectly honest. We take a look, and I saw this earlier when Amanda Stein posted this, again, the most famous handwriting in New Jersey Devils history. We see the lineups for tonight, and we have that meat line there at the top line. Cotter, Lazar, and Bastian, the meat line, getting the number one billing here. And then we have a second line of Hardman, Dowling, LeBanc, a third line of Foote, Bowers, Willman, and a fourth line of my man Curtis McDermott, the Punisher, with Perrant and Hallinan, and then the D pairings of Siegenthaler, Kovacevic, Hadaka, Nemitz, Villain, and Casey. And the goaltenders being Jake Allen, Nico Dawes. Now, I see this, and I'm like, why? I mean, I understand we have another game tomorrow, and there's travel. But, again, going into now the second game in a row without most of our top NHL talent, I just don't know what the point is. I don't know. Again, these games, they're, experimental times to tinker with lines and try guys out and give guys a look. But I just don't like being 0-2. I know it means nothing, but at some point, like losing, no matter when it is, losing is not good. And I understand it doesn't count, and I don't look too much into it. But, now we're 0-2. If we lose tomorrow somehow, then you're like, oh, now we're 0-3. Again, it all means nothing. We went undefeated in the preseason last year, and then, the season we had, the preseason obviously meant nothing for it, but I just don't like getting in a losing groove, to be honest. And so when I saw this, I was hoping to see more of the NHL guys. We're now, at the earliest, going to see Jack Hughes and Timo Meier in the third preseason game. I don't know. It might be analysis paralysis by the coaching staff, if I'm giving my blunt opinion here. I'm not sure why. Either way, we go into the game. This is the lineup, and we lose 2-0. Not much to take away from, to be honest. It's hard to really get a gauge on anything for the actual team when the majority of the guys in the lineup are not full-time NHL players. I will say off the bat that I thought Seamuscasey looked very good. He had a couple of good plays. He's very poised with the puck. He makes very quick movements and changes direction, and we all know he was going to bring that. Again, I think he's going to start the season in Utica, but he might be trying to force his way onto the big boy roster sooner than later, and I think he had a good showing tonight. Outside of that, the only other takeaways for me is that the meat line is here, guys. I absolutely love them. There was a sequence early in the first period where they had a nice forecheck going, and they pinned the Canadiens in their own end for a while. Let me just glance. I made a couple other notes during the game here. Yeah, Jake Allen had a couple big saves early, but the biggest thing that stood out to me was that meat line had a couple really good shifts, and one of them was, again, just a beautiful forecheck, guys getting hit. Montreal couldn't get the puck out of their end, and it was beautiful to see. We had some tons of power plays that we did nothing with, as did the Canadiens. Kovacevic took a penalty in his former home. We had a too many men on the ice penalty. That's obviously one that you see often early on in the season when maybe communication and things are getting ironed out. We hate to see those in the regular season, but preseason, it's not the end of the world. There was a little fracas in the second, a little bit of a rough and tumble situation, and my man Curtis McDermott was ready and willing. His gloves were off before anybody. And for those Montreal guys, I'm not sure if they realized who was in the scrum. Curtis was ready to break somebody's face. Luckily for them, the refs got in and kind of broke it up before anyone could kind of separate from the pack and square up, because Curtis was definitely out there looking to smash somebody for sure. I would have loved to see it. Montreal had a goal waved off for goalie interference. That was Allen kind of got spun around. Yeah, overall, not much to take away. Again, my two big takeaways on the night are Casey is as advertised. No surprise there. And this meat line is going to be a problem for a lot of teams. And I think the unfortunate reality of the meat line, the only downside of it is I think, and I've said this before, I think Cotter's potential is much higher than a fourth liner. However, I just think with him on the line, it could be one of the better fourth lines in the league. And not to say that they're the same player, because they're not by any stretch, but it kind of reminds me of, on the 1995 Stanley Cup Devils, Bobby Holik was the center of the crash line, which was the fourth line. Bobby Holik, throughout his career, played much higher than a fourth line center, but in that lineup we had, he was the perfect piece for that fourth line to make it an amazing fourth line. And so I'm sure Cotter would love to play his way off of the fourth line, and I do believe at some point he will, and I don't think the meat line will be here to stay, barring that the rest of the lines are just doing amazing on their own, because I do think Cotter just brings so much more than, you know, a fourth liner. I think his upside and his ceiling is way, way higher. But if all the other lines are clicking, firing on all cylinders, he could be the perfect complement to that fourth line, and maybe he'll stay there. But I just feel like at some point he's going to force his way onto a higher line and at least get some auditions, because the skill is definitely there. He's a pretty good skater. He has finesse moves. He's got hands. Sometimes you could see him pick up the puck kind of in the neutral zone and just kind of slice through defenders and gain the zone. He just he looks like he's got that kind of it factor, and I'm excited to see him this year. Whether he remains on that fourth line and the meat line stays intact, or he plays higher up in the lineup, I think he's going to have a career year, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, okay, now I see what Fitz saw in him when we traded for him, and why we paid the price we did, because Fitz was a big believer in the upside. We look at the game stats: 24 shots on goal for the Devils, 29 for the Canadiens. We lose in the face-off department, 45.5% to 54.5%. This power play, abysmal for both teams. The Devils 0 for 6 and the Canadiens 0 for 8. You know, I don't know if this is a case of the preseason jitters and the Zebras were over anxious with their whistles, but that's a ton of penalties. Completely insane. Neither team scoring on the man advantage. Devils with 21 hits. Again, love to see it. Would love to see that closer to 30 on some nights, but 21 hits to the Devils. 18 for the Canadiens. Devils with 6 block shots. Canadiens with 8 block shots. Devils with 18 giveaways. Canadiens with 22 giveaways. Devils with 4 takeaways. And the Canadiens with 5. And so, yeah, not much to see here. Devils lose 2-0. Go to 0-2 on the young preseason. And we are in action tomorrow night at home against the Capitals. And I better see close to a real NHL lineup. I'm tired of this. You know, if Jack doesn't play tomorrow, I'm going to start to question whether he's healthy or not at this point. I mean, we don't have too many more preseason games that the NHL guys will be able to play before they leave to go to Prague. And so time is ticking, and what is the holdup here? Let's get these guys some reps in preseason and see if we can find some chemistry before heading to Prague. Yeah, I'm looking at let me just scan the schedule here. Yeah, you're talking about we have tomorrow night, the 25th, against the Caps at home, and then the 27th, Friday night, at the Islanders. That's it. Those are the only 2 remaining preseason games for our full-time NHL players to play in. On Sunday the 29th, that jet plane is headed to Prague, and that's it. So you're talking about Timo, Jack, Mercer, all these guys. The most preseason games they can play now is 2, and that's if they play tomorrow and on Friday. After that, that's it. The rest of the preseason is going to be a lineup made up of Utica Comets and guys on professional tryouts and other prospects and things. But that's it. 2 more preseason games remaining for the full-time NHLers, and I'd like to see us send out pretty much a real lineup for the next 2 games, because this is getting ridiculous. I'm hoping we see it tomorrow. I think you're going to see the meat line every game. But yeah, Jack, Timo, Mercer, can we see these guys? Dougie Hamilton. I want to see the A-listers. I want to see the real NHL club. And we only have 2 games for those guys to play in before they go to Prague. So it will be very interesting. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this game. Did anyone stand out to you? I thought Jake Allen looked pretty solid for the most part, as did Dawes. They both made some pretty good saves. I have to say, I hate watching games on the app. The app crashes and it freezes, and then they're showing the Montreal video feed. So then we're seeing commercials, but then they're not playing the audio. The whole thing is minor league. It's a step up from the Prospects Challenge broadcast, but it's still a long ways away from like a real broadcast, and it's kind of annoying. And again, the app is glitchy. It's freezing. It disconnects from the TV. I absolutely hate it. But these are the things you have to do to watch your New Jersey Devils in the preseason. But everything Devils hockey, throw it out there in the comments. I'm working on some super, super exclusive projects The month of October is going to be exciting for this channel, my friends. I promise you, October of 2024 is going to be one for the ages. I have giveaways, special things, secret things. Everything is coming to the forefront in October. Stay tuned. And I'll be back tomorrow, guys. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the game or not. I'm leaning towards going, but you never know. You never know. I'm hoping to see Amanda's handwriting on her famous pad tomorrow with the full NHL lineup. Need to see it. Need to see it. Talk to you all soon. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.